So, welcome and thank you, Dr. Parthasarathy, for accepting our invite to be the speaker of today's session, sir. Over to you. Thank you so much.
Good evening, everybody. Today's topic is recent updates in CDK4/6 inhibitors in the management of metastatic breast cancer. It's a quite common topic, and we are treating a lot of patients with the CDK4/6 inhibitors, and now there is more than one choice available. So, the idea of today's presentation is that how these data pairing with each other and how the toxicities are matching up. We all know that breast cancer is one of the commonest in India. It is the commonest cause of new cancer deaths along with lung cancer, and mortality of breast cancer is 6.6% of all the cancer case mortalities. So incidence is very high. The mortality is not that high because it's a very chronic disease, and long life is possible even in stage 4 disease. Globacan 2018 Indian data, the number of new cases of both sexes, breast cancer ranks number 1 in incidence and mortality for women, and also both sexes combined. You can see that among males, now the commonest cancer is lip and oral cavity. But if you are combining the male and females, the lung cancer is one of the commonest. I mean, the breast cancer is one of the commonest. And roughly 30% of the people whom we are treating as an early stage will end up as a metastatic disease, and 6 to 10% of the women with a breast cancer are upfront stage for on diagnosis. So this is a pie chart. You can everybody knows that TNBC constitutes around 15 to 20%, and hormone positive and HER2 negative, that causes that constitutes a major chunk of patients, 61%. And what are CDK4/6 inhibitors? They are orally available selective inhibitor of CDK4 and 6, inhibits the proliferation of and cellular DNA synthesis by preventing cell progression from G1 to S phase, and low nanomolecular concentration block RB phosphorylation, inducing specific G1 arrest. So they are causing a block in the G1, preventing its progression to S phase. Inhibits proliferation in cultured and xenograft leukemia, myeloma, breast cancer, colon cancer, and lung cancer cells. So what are they basically? They are basically molecules which causes arrest at G1 of the cell cycle. You can see that not many molecules emerged after 2002, and the next molecule on the block was palbociclib, which was launched in 2015 in India. And there is a array of trials with, of the three CDK4/6 inhibitors currently available in India, namely palbociclib, ribociclib, and abemaciclib. Paloma 1 and 2. Paloma 1 we are not describing because it's a phase 2 study. Paloma 2 and 3. Then Mona Lisa 2 and 7. Then Monarch 2 and 3. So we will see one by one. And if you are seeing this slide, we are seeing that what we are witnessing is that there is an overall response of around 50 to 60% when you are adding the CDK4/6 inhibitors to aromatase inhibitors. So the response rate jumps from 40 to 60%, and the PFS, there is a 2/3 improvement in the PFS. From 10 to 16 months, it is reaching up to 20 to 25 months. And palbociclib is currently indicated for the treatment, upfront treatment of postmenopausal women with the ER positive and HER2 negative breast cancers as a first line treatment. And in the second line, it is indicated for HER2 positive, HER2 negative, hormone positive, advanced or metastatic breast cancer in combination with fulvestrant after progression over one line of endocrine treatment. So this is Paloma 2. Paloma 2 is basically upfront treatment, and Paloma 3 is after first line failure. So the study was involving postmenopausal women, ER positive, HER2 negative, advanced breast cancer, no prior systemic treatment for the metastatic disease. And if they are taking, if they have taken a neoadjuvant or adjuvant hormone treatment, a gap of 1 year was mandatory for recruiting the patients. If they are recurring within 1 year, they are not included in this study. And ECOG 0 to 2 patients were included, and 2:1 randomization, palbociclib 125 milligram, 3 weeks on and 1 week off, and letrozole 2.5 continuously. On the control arm, placebo with letrozole, the same dose was allowed. And the primary endpoint was EFS. And it was a randomized double-blind phase 3 study in involving 17 countries. So the arms were evenly matched. You can see that above 65 years were roughly 40% in both the arms, and visceral mets were around 48 to 49.5, and bone-only disease was constituting around 20 to 23% in both the arms. And the next slide, PFS, median PFS was in the palbociclib arm, palbo and letros was 27.6 months, and in the letrozole arm it was 14.5 months. And you can see that very early in the time span, after around 2 months, the curves are separating, and that separation is maintained till the end. If you are seeing the subset analysis, you can see almost everybody is benefited, and the hazard ratio in non-visceral and bone-only disease, bone-only definitely better prognostic group, so hazard ratio is much lesser there. And if you are seeing the disease sites, one versus multiple sites, they are also equally benefited. And ECOG 0 and 1, 0 and 1 and 2, and below 65 years and above 65 years, all are very much benefited, and the hazard ratio is very impressive. If you are seeing the overall response rate, like we said in the beginning, it is jumping from 30% to in excess of 40%. That is 42.1% in the all randomized patient. But if you are seeing the patient with the measurable disease, overall response rate is is 55.3 in the palbo and letrozole arm and 44.4 in the placebo and letrozole arm. And the CBR includes stable disease also. The CBR is 84.3 percentage versus 70.8 percentage. So clinical benefit rates are CBR, that includes complete response, partial response, and stable disease. And if you are seeing the duration response is around 2 years. The duration response in the patient with the measurable disease is 22.5 months versus 16.8 months. If you are seeing the follow-up of Paloma studies, this is important because we are seeing the overall survival. So what the patients are receiving in the coming lines are important. So most of them received second-line hormonal treatment, anti-hormonal treatment in around 60.8 months in the palbo-letrozole and almost similar percentage in the placebo-letrozole arm also. And subsequently, they received chemotherapy in around 36.6 in the palbo-letros and 34% in the chemotherapy arm. Among the chemotherapy, almost all molecules they have been exposed to. That means they took the maximum treatment. And second subsequent treatment is also hormonal, anti-hormonal in 36.2 percentage, chemotherapy in 63 percentage, and remarkably, another CDK4/6 inhibitors were not used in this study. So the conclusion is that after 37 months of follow-up, the PFS was 27.6 months in the letrozole and palbociclib arm versus 14.5 months. The PFS is almost doubled, and it is very well tolerated. The overall incidence of, though neutropenia was very common, the neutropenic fever was uncommon. And it is now it is after this study, the palbo and letros is considered as an important first-line therapy in hormone receptor HER2 negative breast cancer, metastatic or advanced breast cancer. Number 3, the difference is that this is a study for the second line after failure of first line endocrine treatment. Again, the patients were randomized into 2:1 versus 2:1, and they were stratified into visceral metastasis, sensitivity to prior hormone treatment. That is very important because there is no point in using a hormone treatment after early failure of another hormone treatment. And they were again divided into pre or perimenopausal and postmenopausal. And here, patients again perimenopausal and postmenopausal. In the first study, Paloma 2, only postmenopausal. When you are using premenopausal, you have to give a GnRH agonist or antagonist along with that. Here, goserelin was used. So, if you are using goserelin, it should be they should be receiving at least 4 weeks prior to, and should be continued for the total duration of the trial. And the arms are evenly matched. The palbociclib and fulvestrant and placebo and fulvestrant, they are the arms. Here, premenopausal or perimenopausal will constitute around 20.7% in each arm. visceral metastasis was around 59 to 60%. Chemotherapy was constituting prior treatment. Around 85%, and patient received AI, and 60% received tamoxifen. Chemotherapy was received in around 70+% of the patients. Here, as you can see from the inclusion criteria, one prior chemotherapy regimen was allowed. So, how many? So, if you are seeing the curves,
सर इस बॉक्स को क्लोज कर दीजिएगा.
this box.
रिमूव हट गया.
So, what was that? What was that tool?
Sir, we can't see even because हमारे सबके
Okay.
स्क्रीन पे वो एक ब्लर पिक्चर.
Okay. Your person was trying to control something. Romila. I don't know what's that. Okay.
She
Some
is
sense.
ending this session, sir.
Okay. So the PFS in the Paloma 3 is median PFS was 11.2 months, and the comparative arm, that placebo with fulvestrant, was 4.6 months. So here also you can see that after 2 months the curves are separating, and there is a huge gap between the 2 months, between the two curves, and roughly the PFS is 3 times. I'm not able to negotiate the slides. Yeah. Here also you can see that all subgroups were benefited. If you are seeing that the most noteworthy is the PIK3CA status. If they are PIK3CA positive also, the study saying that the hazard ratio is very much improved, and PIK3CA and positive and negative patients are almost equally benefited by the treatment, and the disease-free survival less than previous disease-free survival less than 24 months or more than 24 months. Those who are having at least 2 years of DFS in the first line, they are doing very well compared to the people who are progressing within 2 years. Response rate, you can see that is a second line study, so naturally the response rate will be less. But you can see compared to the control arm, the response rate is more than doubled. The response rate in the measurable disease is 24.6 months versus 10.9 months. And if you are including the stable disease also, it is 67% versus 40%. So to conclude Paloma 3, if you are adding palbociclib to fulvestrant, the median PFS compared with the placebo and fulvestrant is very much improved. It is 11.2 months versus 4.6 months. And the clinical benefit was demonstrated across all subgroups. It was well tolerated, and now it's an effective option for those who have progressed on the first line endocrine treatment. Subgroups, if you are seeing that, this is a very important set of slides. Why is that? If you are seeing the Palama 1 and 2, the first line, these are the three age groups they have arbitrarily divided: less than 65, 65 to 74, and more than 75 or more. So in the first line, the biggest beneficiaries were the elderly group, 75%, 75, more than 75 years. In this group, the PFS is not reaching the Palbo arm. Compared to the comparator arm, it is 10.9 months. So the hazard ratio is 0.331. But if you are seeing the PALMA 3 study, where it is using the second line, you can see that the 65 to 74 percentage, the hazard ratio is the lowest. What you have to see is that across all age groups, it is giving substantial benefit. So if you are seeing the subset analysis by menopausal status in the pre or perimenopausal, also if you are using goserelin and make them postmenopausal under the cover of these agents, the PFS is equally impressive, 9.5 months compared to the postmenopausal, where it is now 9.9 months. So this is the pre or perimenopausal curve. It is almost similar to the postmenopausal or the total curve. These two slides, they are saying that the quality of life is maintained compared to the placebo and letrozole arm. It has got a very well tolerated patient profile, a significant better quality of life, significant delay in deterioration of the global quality of life, significantly greater improvement from baseline in emotional function and pain, no significant increase in systemic therapy side effects. About ribociclib, we'll quickly go through the comparator. I mean the competitors, other CDK4/6 inhibitors. Mona Lisa 2 is almost not almost. It is exactly like Palama 2. The primary endpoint was PFS. The testing molecule was ribociclib, 600 milligram per day. It is available as a 200 milligram tablet. So you have to use 3 tablets at one time. The regimen is exactly the same, 3 weeks on and 1 week off. The adding molecule, the companion molecule is also the same, letrozole 2.5 milligram. So what we are seeing is that again at 2 months the curves are separating, and the median PFS is not reaching the testing arm, and it is 14.7 months in the comparator arm. The PFS hazard ratio is equally impressive, 0.592, and other study of ribociclib is in the premenopausal or perimenopausal group. That ribociclib is clubbed with goserelin and tamoxifen or non-steroidal aromatase inhibitors. The primary endpoint was PFS, and it is almost similar benefit is achieved. The median PFS is 23.8 months in the ribociclib arm compared to placebo arm, where it is placebo plus hormone treatment is 13 months. So coming to abemaciclib, third molecule, I'll skip this slide. we have got Monarch 2 and 3. Monarch 2 is a second line study. So I'll go through Monarch 3 first. Postmenopausal women, HER2 hormone receptor positive, HER2 negative, advanced MBC. Abemaciclib is clubbed with a non-steroidal AI, that is either letrozole or anastrozole in the standard doses. Abemaciclib is given as a BD dose, 150 milligram BD, and it is given as continuously, not 3 weeks on and 1 week off. It is given every day, and the primary endpoint is PFS. And you can see that the PFS is 28.18 in the Abema arm, and the placebo arm it is 14.6 months. The curves of the three molecules are almost similar, and now we can go back to Monarch 2 because it's a second line study. Here Abema is clubbed with fulvestrant. The median PFS was 16.4 months, and the placebo arm it is 9.3 months. And the median follow-up was 19.3 months. And here also the hazard ratio is 0.553, almost similar to other studies. So these are the data of the data and the PFS graph of most of the studies. What about the OS? The OS of the Palbo recently published. So palbociclib with fulvestrant, placebo with fulvestrant, that is Palama 3. Here median OS is 34.9 months, and in the placebo arm with fulvestrant is 28 months. And there is a absolute improvement in the OS of about 6.9 months. What about the sensitivity to prior ET? So this is important because we are using the second line in this study. So if it has responded well to the prior endocrine treatment, the OS is naturally much better. It is 39.7 months in the left hand side. On the right hand side, palbociclib with fulvestrant, median OS was without sensitivity to prior ET, it is 20.2 months. So if you have got a sensitivity to prior endocrine treatment, the absolute improvement in OS was 10 months, where in the overall group intent to treat population it was 6.9 months. So if you are subdividing that into prior sensitivity to previous endocrine treatment, those who are responding to prior endocrine treatment, the OS is much better. Whether there is a visceral mets or non-visceral mets, they are very well responding to this thing, the palbociclib molecule. So conclude OS analysis, absolute difference in PFS in the palbo and fulvestrant arm was 6.9 months, and the OS is also in the intent to treat population was 6.9 months benefit, and 10 months improvement in the OS was observed in the patient who has got prior sensitivity to prior endocrine treatment, and the treatment did not interfere with the type and efficacy of standard treatment after progression. It confirms the use of palbo and fulvestrant as a standard of care in patients who are previously treated with the endocrine treatment. What about the OS in the ribociclib trials? MONALEESA 3, which includes the pre and perimenopausal women. You can see that at 2 years, around 82.7% of the patients are alive. At 3 years, around 71.9% of the patients are alive compared to 64.9 months in the placebo group. And in the second molecule, the abemaciclib with fulvestrant, again, there is a substantial improvement in the median OS, 46.7 months in the Abema arm compared to 37.7 months in the placebo arm. This is a 9.4 months OS benefit, and we are using it in the second line. I'm skipping. Safety, we will see. The side effect profiles are different. Palbociclib mainly causes neutropenia, which are most often asymptomatic, and some GI side effects are also there. But ribociclib, GI side effects are more. QTC prolongation is there, and abemaciclib, there is a cumbersome and diarrhea, and you can see that 81.3% of the patients are having some amount of diarrhea, and in 9.5% it is grade 3. So if you're seeing the quality of life, Abema has got a significant increase in the GI toxicities, and in addition to that, there is a significant percent of the patients are having LFT abnormalities. 5.8% of the patients are having grade 3 abnormalities in the liver enzymes. And if you are seeing the PALBO, you can see that diarrhea is 26%, vomiting is 15%. But if you are seeing the grade 3 toxicities, the diarrhea is 1.4% and vomiting is 0.5%. Abdominal pain 11.3, decrease in the appetite 14.9. But if you are seeing the grade 3 and more, it is less than 1%. LFT, change in the liver enzymes 43%. But if you are seeing the grade 3 and grade 4, it is less than 2. And what about the ribo? You can see that GI toxicities are more. 38% are having some diarrhea. 33% are having some vomiting. 2.4% of the diarrhea are grade 3, and 3.6 are grade of vomiting are grade 3, and some significant serious QTC prolongation that is seen in ribociclib, 3% roughly, but grade 3 are less. So depending on the side effects, we have to follow up them like that. In Palbo, you have to see the day 1 CBC and day 15 CBC for 2 cycles, and after that only monthly CBCs. But in the case of ribociclib, you have to do day 1, day 14 CBC, ECG, serum electrolytes on day 1. Day 1 only. Other thing, 2 things, CBC, ECG are day 1 and day 14. LFT is day 1 and day 14. And electrolytes should be monitored monthly. And what about the abemaciclib? Day 1 and day 14, CBC and LFT. So the easy to monitor and much better tolerated among the 3R palbociclib. Real world evidence, I'll just quickly go through. It's mainly from US studies, US Acheron network, 2.2 million active patients. Real world PFS is corresponding to what we are seeing clinically. there is a median PFS is 19.7 months with Palbo and letrozole versus 11.9 months with letrozole only. And the study is saying that it is corroborating with what we are seeing clinically. And another real world study is IRIS study. It's a retrospective study, and 652 patients treated by 65 physicians in the US. And results are palbociclib and AI combination prescribed to 360 patients, and palbo and fulvestrant in 292 patients. Letrozole was the commonest companion used by them, just like us. And 125 milligram of palbociclib was used in majority of the patients. And dose adjustment was occurred in 19.7 months in palbo and AI, and 14.4% in palbo and fulvestrant. So in conclude IRIS study, the treatment with palbociclib in combination with AI or fulvestrant demonstrated favorable effectiveness. Fewer real-world patients required dose adjustment compared to clinical trial patients, and the response rate and clinical benefits were similar to what we are seeing in clinical trials. And to conclude today's presentation, what are we seeing after 2015? More prior to 2015, no new treatment options were available, and after the launch of palbociclib plus letrozole in the first line MBC has shown median PFS over 2 years. Real world data is consistent with the randomized clinical studies, and no new safety signals were detected in the real world evidence. Quality of life is maintained, and it is remarkably well tolerated, and it palbociclib represents a significant advance in the care of HR positive and HER2 negative first line treatment with manageable adverse effects, improving the quality of life with lesser and later use of cytotoxic chemotherapy. So